Hello, my dear ones. Welcome back. So, in our last class, we saw how the happy prince helped the writer and the little girl. And in today's class, we are going to see the continuation of the lesson. Let us see. All of you look into page number 120. The city lights. Dear little swallow, said the prince, fly over my city and tell me what you see there. The swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. So, what happened? The prince is asking the little sparrow, little swallow. What did he ask? He is asking, you fly over my city and see what my peoples are doing. And the swallow did as the prince was told, and he flew over the city, and he saw poor men are still poor, but the rich men are still richer. And the poor people were begging, and the rich people were living very highly. And see, I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off, leaf by leaf, and give it to my poor people. They always think that gold can make them happy. So, the prince is saying, you do one thing, my body is covered with complete gold. So, you can pluck it one by one and give it to the poor people, that which makes them very happy. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold, the swallow picked off till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. He took it to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier, and they laughed and played games in the street. We have bread now, they cried. See what happened? The swallow did as he was told, and he took one by one leaf from the prince's body and gave it to the poor men. And the children were very happy to receive that leaf, and they said, we are no more poor, we are rich now. So that was the help which was done by the happy prince and swallow to the poor people. And see, look into page number 121. The sacrifice. Then the snow came. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too well. He tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. But at last, he knew that he was going to die. He had just run to fly up to the prince's shoulder once more. Goodbye, dear prince, he murmured. I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow, said the prince. It's not to Egypt, and I am going, said the swallow. He fell down dead at his feet. At that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue, as if something had broken. The laden heart had snapped right in two. See what happened? At last, the swallow could not leave the prince alone. Why? Because he made the prince blind. He made the prince blind by picking his eyes that was made of ruby gold, and he did not want to leave the prince. Finally, what happened? The winter became so cool day by day, and the bird could not tolerate the cool, and it started to feel tired. It was his time was going to end. He was going to die. But even though the bird tried to flatter its wing, but he could not tolerate it. Somehow he flew to the king, up above the king, and said to him, "At last I am going." And the prince said, "Oh, you are going to Egypt." But the bird said, "No, king, I am not going to Egypt, but I am going." Where is he going? He is going to die. Poor thing, right? When the bird started to fall, it fell dead under the feet of the prince. At that moment, suddenly, the prince heard a cracking sound as something was breaking. And let us see what was the cracking sound. All of you look into the page number 122. The tragic end. Early the next morning, the mayor was walking in the square below in company with the town councillors. As they passed the column, he looked up at the statue. "Dear me, how shabby the happy prince looks," he said. "And here is actually a dead bird at his feet," continued the mayor. "As he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful. It is time we pull down his statue." So they pulled down the statue of the happy prince. What happened? That morning, some fellows was going down the princess. That means town councillor was walking. At that time, he simply looked at the happy prince. He was shocked to see the happy prince has completely gone. All is beautiful as gone, and he is seeing a dead bird under the feet. And other men were saying, "This happy prince is no more useful because he is not at all beautiful. That's why let us pull the prince down." And all of them started to break the statue of the prince. And that was the end of the beautiful prince. Okay, my dears. So that was the lesson of the happy prince. I hope all have understood the lesson and all have enjoyed the lesson. And thank you for listening. Let us meet in the next class the vocabulary of this lesson. Thank you, my dears, and bye-bye, and have a nice day.